As someone who posts every day on LinkedIn, I will admit creating content is not for everybody. But I do know several connections who have been creating content pretty much in the beginning of their career or while they were in data and have landed jobs because of that. I'm going to show three different ways on how to create content with different purposes for either engagement, commenting, or to promote. So, the first type of content creation is impressions. Now, LinkedIn, for every post you make, measures impressions. That's how many people have viewed your posts. So if you have a post that has, let's say, 100 impressions, 100 people have viewed it. Now that could mean people who are connected to you or people in general who viewed it because of connections that you have. First one to have right here is all your content is gained to get impressions, which aka turn into followers. If you're making content and only have 100 impressions, not a lot of people are going to see it. If you make a post that has 1,000 or 10,000 impressions, more chance for followers. And followers aren't everything, I will admit. I have over 80,000, but that doesn't mean much, right? That's just more of like social proof. But having those followers, of course, add more chance of your content being viewed. Use strategically doesn't mean you always make this type of content. I'm going to go more in depth of what type of content this is. But the more content you have that's trying to get followers, it's more generic or general, more that it'll apply to the masses. Currently on LinkedIn, where things are getting most impressions are people talking about the job market, layoffs. So think more controversial or things that'll get people talking, but also not also for good things, right? Not everything that gets a lot of impressions are good. So you gotta think, use them strategically. Of course, we want to get people to view us, but we don't want our page being filled of just bland, generic content over and over. I personally each week probably do one post a week that my goal is to get impressions because I'm trying to continue growing my brand and myself. I want to continue to grow. So usually once a week I'll do something that's a little more, I won't say cookie cutter, but something a little more general, something that could appeal to the masses, which means it could get shared more, shown to more people, which means my profile get more visibility. Going to the last one, caution on doing too much of this because your following will be random and not as strong as others. Because of that, if you're trying to get into data, right, or trying to get data, or if you're already in it, doesn't really matter for either or. If you do make that type of content that's more general or generic, your feed will be full of that because those are people who will be engaging with you. I don't know about you, but I don't want my feed to be that because even if you're gaining followers and gaining this presence on LinkedIn, it's not the right audience. So you want to make sure that you're doing this strategically and not just all the time to make sure you're getting the right people viewing it, who then are recruiters or hiring managers, because that's the ideal audience for all of this, can actually see your work and can move you on to some type of interview and stuff like that. So these are two examples of posts I've made that my goal was to get impressions. The one on the left is literally a meme. It's a meme. That's it. I did a meme talking about how the technical interview is more difficult than the actual job. Um, had a lot of people react to it. It's not something that I wanted to get impressions on a recruiter or hiring manager. I did it to just grow my platform, and it was very successful. But gotta think: do I want my feed? Do I want also my page to be just full of memes? No, I don't want to be a joke. I did it just to throw a little sense in there because sometimes LinkedIn could be a little serious. So sometimes could have a little fun. So, but that whole point of that post is to just switch things up, make some kind of funny, and people seem to like it. And the one on the right is I made something that's, if you kind of read this one, I said how I knew a data analyst that only used Excel, data engineer who's used every tool. I'm basically saying that not you don't have to be an expert at everything you do in your career, but think that applies to a lot of people. A lot of people can resonate well with that. And that has led to the reactions down below and the comments, the reposts. Those are types of content that can appeal to the masses. It's not a very specific niche. Because of that, more people will engage with it, which will lead into more followers and gain more reach. But like I said, that's dependent on what you want. If you want to grow your presence and your platform, this is the type of content you can do every once in a while. If you're trying to land a job, which is the whole point of this course, do it strategically and not all the time so your whole profile doesn't become a meme factor. And don't get me wrong, I love memes. I love making a good meme, but we don't want our whole page being something that we don't want to appear as. The next type of content creation is engagement. This is the most typical one. This is one that I aim for the most because it's geared to have people engage, aka comments. I like when I make a post where I'm not really looking at the reactions as much. I'm looking more at the comments because if I get the comments going, one, people are seeing it, but two, people are taking the time to comment on it, which takes time out of their day. They're taking the time to actually engage with the post. Comments are very valuable because that appears, at least from what I've seen on my end, comments appear on people's feeds way more than likes or reactions. To be able to get people to comment on them is extremely important. And those are the type of ones that are very informative and drives people to read the whole post. You're not doing something that's clickbaity. You're just trying to maybe write something that you're trying to explain maybe how Power Query works in Excel, or you're trying to talk about an interview experience. And basically, that leads into the ending, which is the last bullet point: is end with a question or a course of action. If you just write a post, and let's say you write a great post and you're trying to explain how to use XLOOKUP in Excel, right? You want to teach people, you try to show it, you go through each of the steps and you stop right there. You're not really, no one feels so much inclined to engage with it from a comment perspective. But at the end, if you say, would you like to add anything else? Do you agree? Do you disagree? When you add it with a question, you give people something to respond to. And then they'd be like, oh, I agree with your viewpoint on this. Or, awesome, yeah, I feel the same about XLOOKUP being a strong function within Excel. You're starting that conversation. So make sure every single post you do with this, you end with something. Or it could be, one thing I see a lot is the people put like the recycling logo and say, feel free to repost this if you like this, because you're asking people if they found this useful to repost it. And if they repost it, that's very good. More people get to see it. So always end off your post with something that they could reply to start some engagement in the comment section. So the one thing about these two posts I want to point out is looking at the two things. One thing I want to look at is the reactions to the comments. Almost think that as like a ratio, right? What you'll see in both is I couldn't really get the best screenshots, but with the one on the left, which is just sharing my overall just resume, and the top of that was asking people, what do you think of it? Which inclined people to give their opinion, which drove the comments up to around 74. The one on the right, you don't see one in there, but the first comment on my post, I lead with a question saying, what are you guys doing to prepare yourself for landing a job in 2024? I think that's a very overall question. What are you doing to land a job in 2024? That's going to bring a lot of different discussions out there because everyone's going to have their own viewpoint. Everyone's going to want to talk about it. They're like, oh, I get to talk about this. It's a safe place. I could talk about this and that. So, like I said, ending your post with that will drive the comments. And when you drive comments, that increases impressions. So, almost what I talked about in the first one, we're like, oh, we're aiming for impressions for a general audience. Engagement, we're getting a little more specific. We're not just talking about general topics, we're getting a little more specific, talking about a resume, talking about this one, my job interview process over here, and leaving it with a very specific question will lead solid engagement, which will bring your post to even more people. So that even could turn into an impressions type post. But the whole focus on this is we're trying to get as much engagement with this as possible so we could also meet more people and drive good conversations. And the last one is promotion. And what I mean by promotion is we're not selling something, we're promoting ourselves. And this one is all geared towards to reach recruiters and hiring managers. Just like the others, we're trying to increase our presence to hopefully get their attention. These are specifically made to showcase ourselves to that audience. And that usually involves things like your projects, a resume, something you're learning. These are things that are very specific to you. Because if you start sharing a resume, who knows who could see it? If you share a dashboard you made, who knows who could see it? The whole point is you are promoting yourself, your background, your abilities, so someone in a very strong position, whether it be a recruiter or hiring manager, could actually see your work. And like I said, the end of the day, the goal is not to get the likes or comments, but on showing people your abilities and placing it in the featured section. Just as I said in the very beginning of this course, the featured section is very important. But the goal, not to focus on likes and comments, because at the end of the day, that means nothing. More of the likes. When you promote stuff, it's not going to get as much engagement because it's very specific to you. It's not appealing to others. That's fine. We don't care about that. We just want to post it so it's on the platform and we can put it in the featured section. If you get a post that gets 50 engagements and then you do sharing a dashboard that gets 20, don't sweat it. That's fine because you're making that content for a reason. And actually, what I've been seeing is I see a lot of good engagement and a good amount of reactions on people sharing their work. So you might think, okay, like it might not get as much, but that's not the point. The point is that you have it on your LinkedIn profile because you're hoping that a recruiter or hiring manager sees that. So think at the end of the day, this one's not so much aimed on the metrics of the posts. It's more on I'm trying to get eyeballs on this thing so people can see the work I could do. And right here we have a post that I made a little while ago. I was looking for a job at this point, and I made an Excel dashboard. This eventually became a YouTube video I made, but I made this a dashboard because I made one in Tableau, similar thing, but I wanted to make it in Excel. I made this because, yes, it ended up getting a pretty good reaction, but that was not my goal. None of this is a goal. The goal is to showcase what I can do. I'm promoting my abilities. And this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to show people, hey, yeah, I can make a dashboard in Tableau, but look what I can do in Excel. And I did this a while ago, and this looks fine. It looks dashboard looks fine, but looks way different than what I do now. But that's an example. I'm trying to promote my technical skills to get visibility for people, and it just turned out that people engaged with it and liked it, which helped my case even more. So that wraps up this course. I really appreciate you following along with all these videos. I know we went into a ton of topics. I highly recommend that you check out Data Frenchie, where we have many other courses, guided projects, assessments, webinars, all that good stuff. I'm around all the time too. We have a live chat option in case you have any questions with other stuff like resources and career services. I really, really appreciate it. I would also appreciate a like and subscribe because having all of this on YouTube allows us to keep growing and have all of our content on here so we don't have to put it behind a paywall or anything like that. I really appreciate you sticking around, and I'll see you around on the next video.